Have you ever stopped to think about what it means to truly have a face? And I'm not talking about your physical appearance, not at all. I'm talking about the soul you show the world, and maybe even the divine. Today we're diving headfirst into one of C.S. Lewis's most incredible novels, Till We Have Faces, a story that wrestles with that exact massive question.
This right here is the central mystery of the book, and it's the puzzle we're going to try and solve. The whole story kind of spins around this one idea, that maybe most of us are walking through life wearing masks, hiding our true selves, not just from everyone else, but, and this is the crazy part, even from ourselves.
So let me introduce you to our guide on this journey. She's a princess named Orual, and she's so convinced she's ugly that she literally spends her life hiding behind a veil. But here's the kicker. That physical veil, it has nothing on the one she wears on her soul. That one's a mask of self-pity and excuses, and it's all built from a so-called love that's actually more like a poison.
All right, first up we have to talk about Orual's love for her half-sister, Psyche. It's this intense, all-consuming thing that Orual is absolutely convinced is the purest, most sacrificial love in the world. But as the story pulls back the curtain, we start to see that it's something much, much darker.
This is where you really see the gap between what Orual tells herself and what's actually true. On one side, you have her story. I'm the selfless protector. But on the other side, you have the ugly truth of her soul. You see, her sacrifices weren't really gifts. They were more like down payments on owning a person. And wanting to be Psyche's everything, that wasn't about generosity. It was about making sure there was no room for anyone else.
And this really gets to the heart of it. We're not talking about a little bit of overprotection here. This is a kind of love that completely consumes, suffocates, and in the end just erases the person it claims to care about. It's a loyalty that basically becomes a form of spiritual cannibalism. It's intense.
You know, the most chilling part of this whole thing comes much, much later, when Orual has a horrifying realization. She sees that her so-called love is a perfect mirror image of Ungit, this brutal, faceless goddess she despises, a goddess who demands blood sacrifices. Why? Because they're both driven by the exact same thing, a greedy primal hunger that can never, ever be filled.
Okay, so let's get to the major turning point of the entire story. Psyche is taken to be sacrificed to some monster up on a mountain. But here's the twist. When Orual goes to find her, Psyche is not only alive, she's incredibly happy. She says she's married to a god and living in a beautiful palace. The only problem? Orual can't see any of it.
I mean, just look at this collision of two realities. For Psyche, it's a world of unbelievable beauty and love. But for Orual, standing in the exact same spot, all she sees is a wet, miserable mountain. It's just rocks and rain. So the big question is, why? Why can't she see what her sister sees?
Well, the book gives us two huge reasons. The first is her rationalism. Her tutor taught her that if you can't see it or measure it, it's just nonsense, a trick. But the real reason, the one that goes way deeper, it's that possessiveness again. See, if she admits the palace is real, she also has to admit that Psyche is happy, completely without her, and her soul just cannot stand that idea.
So what does she do? She disguises her motives as saving Psyche from this monster she's invented in her head. She emotionally blackmails her, even threatens to kill herself, all to force Psyche to betray her divine husband. She's so desperate to control her sister's happiness that she ends up murdering it instead.
So Orual goes on to live a long, long life. She becomes this powerful, respected queen, but deep down, she's holding on to this story that she is the ultimate victim. She spends decades writing a book, her magnum opus, which is basically a long, logical, airtight argument against the gods, all to prove how unfair they were and how innocent she was. And at the very end of her life, she finally gets her day in court. She stands before the gods, ready to read her masterpiece of self-justification. But when she opens her mouth, it's not the logical, carefully chosen words that come out. Oh no. What comes out is the raw, ugly, unfiltered scream of her soul that's been hiding for all those years.
And this is what her soul screams. That girl is mine. The mask doesn't just slip, it completely shatters. And the truth that's revealed is just horrifying. She would rather Psyche be dead and belong to her than be alive and immortal and belong to a god. It is the ultimate confession of a devouring soul.
And that's the absolute genius of the story. The gods didn't have to say a thing. They didn't argue or defend themselves. They just gave her the space to speak her truth. And in doing so, she gave them the answer herself. The very complaint she wrote to prove she was innocent ended up becoming the ultimate proof of her guilt.
So, after that brutal journey, what have we learned? What does it actually mean to have a face? To be truly seen by the gods or by anyone?
It's actually pretty simple. A true face is what's left over when you strip away all the excuses, all the justifications, and especially that comforting little story you tell yourself that you're the one who's been wronged. It's just raw, unvarnished truth, no matter how ugly it might be.
So let's break that down. It means, first, you have to stop defending your every action. Second, you have to find the courage to look at the ugly parts of yourself, your own inner ungit, and just admit they're there. Third, it's about choosing to be real instead of trying to look perfect. And finally, and this might be the hardest one, you have to give up the power that comes from being the victim.
This one question from the book really nails it. Think about it. A real relationship, with a person, with the divine, with anything, it just can't happen if one person is wearing a mask. It requires two authentic souls to actually meet. As long as we're hiding behind a facade, we can never ever be truly seen.
And that leaves us with a pretty big question to take away. Think about the people you love the most. Is there a part of their happiness, a hobby, a friend, a belief that you can't control or really understand? A kind of unseen palace that you can't get into? Because Orual's story is a huge warning. True love doesn't demand a key to that palace. It celebrates that the palace exists, even if it's from the outside.